A radio crackles in the dark. Not loud, not dramatic, just a burst of static. A few clipped words. And every German soldier nearby knows what it means. Not rifle fire. Not a patrol. Not even tanks. Something worse. American artillery. In seconds, the ground will convulse. Trees will snap. Walls will fold inward. Men will disappear under earth, brick, and steel. For many German soldiers in the Second World War, that sound became a kind of prophecy, the warning that the sky itself was about to attack them. And that fear led to an uncomfortable conclusion. German troops often respected the British more, but they feared the Americans more. That is the distinction. Respect and fear. British soldiers were seen as professional, disciplined, capable, careful. American soldiers were often judged differently, less polished, less precise, less traditionally military. And yet, again and again, German soldiers came away with the same impression. The British were professionals. The Americans were dangerous. To understand why, you have to begin with the army the Germans thought they understood. The British Army fit the European model. It looked familiar. Its officers carried themselves like officers. Its units moved with discipline. Its attacks were prepared in detail. Its doctrine was cautious, structured, and deliberate. German soldiers described British troops as competent, professional, and disciplined. That was not mockery, it was respect. British infantry, in the German view, knew their trade. British troops were not reckless. They did not rush blindly. They advanced with calculation, with support, with preparation. That mattered, because by the middle years of the war, German troops had fought almost everybody. The Russians, the French, the Serbs, the Romanians, the British, the Americans. They had learned to compare enemies the way craftsmen compare tools, and the British, to them, were reliable tools of war. Solid, skilled, predictable. That predictability came from the British way of battle. German soldiers noticed that British attacks tended to come only when conditions were favorable. The British preferred overwhelming force, not equal force, not risky odds. Overwhelming force. They would gather artillery, study the ground, assemble armor, coordinate infantry, then wait a little longer. And when they finally attacked, they often did so with great weight, but only after every possible advantage had been arranged. To German commanders, this made British operations formidable. To German frontline soldiers, it also made them easier to read. The British could be dangerous, but often they were methodical to the point of caution. Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery became the symbol of that style. Even German enemies who respected him often saw him as painfully slow, careful, systematic, never casual with lives, never eager to gamble. Montgomery would build strength first, then attack, then pause, then build again. This was not incompetence. It was a philosophy designed to reduce uncertainty. German soldiers recognized the skill in it, but they also saw its weakness. A cautious enemy gives you time to observe, time to withdraw, time to guess where the blow will fall. British commanders, in German eyes, were often too careful to be terrifying in the way terror works at the front. Sudden, intimate, and uncontrolled. This shaped the German battlefield experience. When British forces made contact, German soldiers expected a pattern. Fire would come, pressure would build, movement would be deliberate. The British soldier was dangerous because he was competent. The British commander was dangerous because he was thorough. But the entire system felt bounded by restraint. The Germans could understand it. And what soldiers can understand, they can prepare themselves to endure. Then came the Americans. Before the war, many Germans dismissed the United States with arrogance. America, to them, was rich but soft. a commercial civilization, a money-hunting nation too engrossed in the hunt of the dollar to produce a serious military force. It had factories, it had cars, it had jazz, it had movies. But a real army, that was supposed to belong to Europe, to old military societies, to nations formed by barracks, bloodlines, and drill. Not to a republic across the Atlantic where civilians seemed to outnumber soldiers in spirit as much as in fact. This was one of the most expensive misjudgments of the war, because when German soldiers truly met Americans in sustained combat, the old assumptions began to collapse. Yes, many Americans lacked the polish of European professionals. Yes, German soldiers often believed American infantrymen were not individually as skilled as the best British or German troops. But what the Americans lacked in refinement, they made up for in something far more disturbing: aggression. One survivor of the 276th Volksgrenadier Division described them with a phrase that captured the German shock perfectly. Enthusiastic amateurs with a disposition to aggression I'd never seen in any other nation's sons. That line matters, because amateurs was not the heart of the statement. Enthusiastic was not either. The key word was aggression, an unfamiliar aggression. Not the aggression of parade ground hardness, not the aggression of ideological fanaticism. Something more immediate, more physical, more reflexive. German soldiers noticed a difference in battlefield reaction. When fired upon, British troops would return fire and edge toward a more favorable position. That was dangerous, but intelligible. Americans reacted differently. They returned fire at once. Then came the radio. Then came artillery. Then air power if it was available. And when the bombardment ended, they counterattacked. This felt to German survivors less like classic infantry combat and more like touching a tripwire connected to an entire industrial civilization. A single American platoon did not fight alone. It fought with battalions behind it, with guns beyond the horizon, with aircraft overhead, with trucks, fuel, spare parts, radio nets, and ammunition dumps stretching backward across continents. That was the shock. Not simply the American soldier, the American system. German soldiers were trained in a military culture that valued discipline, hierarchy, and controlled professionalism. The Americans seemed to fight with looser internal bonds. Their officers spoke differently. Their enlisted men behaved differently. There was less stiffness, less ritual distance. One German observation put it bluntly: American troops lacked the snap and precision of German soldiers, but the cordial relations between officers and men more than make up for the lack of iron discipline. Another German remarked, "The attitude of the American officer towards enlisted men is very different than in our army, in which officers have always treated their men as cattle." That difference was not trivial. It changed how units fought. European armies often relied on tradition to hold men together. The Americans relied on something more informal: shared confidence, mutual familiarity, a sense that officers and men were part of the same machine, not separate castes. This made American formations look less impressive in ceremonial terms, but it made them harder to break psychologically, because men fight differently when they do not feel crushed from above. German veterans saw that. They also saw something else. Americans kept coming. One quote remembered fighting near Verdun. The troops were against the Rainbow Division near Verdun and said they don't want any more such fighting. The Americans were always advancing and acted more like wild men than soldiers. That was not a compliment. It was not intended to be, but it revealed the same fear. American attacks did not always feel elegant. They felt relentless. And once German soldiers learned what American contact usually triggered, the deepest fear was no longer the infantryman in front of them. It was the sound behind him, the walkie-talkie, the crackle, the voice the correction, then the shells. This was the real terror of fighting the United States Army. American artillery. Not simply numerous, not simply loud, systematic, responsive, fast. German soldiers were shocked by how quickly American artillery found targets. They were shocked by its accuracy, and above all, they were shocked by the amount of ammunition Americans were willing and able to expend. German artillery had to be selective. Every shell mattered. Every fire mission had to consider shortage. The Americans behaved as if shortage were a foreign language. Each U.S. infantry division had 4 artillery battalions, 12 tubes each, 48 artillery pieces per division. That was the baseline. Then came corps-level fire, Army-level coordination, additional support, mass layered upon mass. In the Ruhr Pocket battle alone, U.S. 16th Corps fired 259,000 artillery rounds in just 14 days. That number is hard to absorb. It means not a single dramatic outburst, but a sustained ability to pulverize. Day after day, mission after mission. German soldiers experienced this not as isolated bombardment, but as a permanent condition of vulnerability. Any mistake could summon it. Any detected position, any sniper shot, any mortar team, any machine gun nest. Resistance did not merely invite return fire, it invited annihilation. And the Americans did something else no one else in the world could do with the same mastery. Time on target. TOT, a technical phrase, a horrifying experience, multiple batteries, sometimes from different locations, firing at carefully calculated times so that shells from all of them arrived together. Not in sequence, not with warning, together. The first shells were not the start of the barrage. They were the barrage. There was no time to run between ranging shots, no gradual build, no mercy in the timing. For German troops in exposed positions, TOT fire turned arithmetic into shock. The sky opened all at once. Then came the proximity fuse, the VT fuse, introduced in late December 1944 during the Battle of the Bulge. It detonated shells automatically above the ground. That changed everything. A shell exploding on impact is terrible. A shell exploding above you is worse. Fragments spread wider. Foxholes become less protective. Tree bursts turn forests into shredders of steel and splinters. Units that might have clung to the ground under ordinary artillery suddenly found the air itself weaponized. German accounts reported that Wehrmacht units facing this new fuse were broken by it. Not just hurt, broken. So when a German soldier heard that American radio crackle, he heard more than communication. He heard mathematics, industry, fuel, training, abundance. He heard a civilization that could turn a voice into a storm. And if the artillery was not enough, there were the aircraft. By 1944 and 1945, American air power deepened the sense that there was nowhere left to hide. But 47 Thunderbolts, P-51 Mustangs, names that became conditions of fear. German columns moving by daylight risked detection. German vehicles on roads risked destruction. Even small signs of resistance could trigger terrible retaliation from above. A sniper fires, a mortar round lands, an American unit radios the location. Then comes a hailstorm of fire that can flatten an entire town. Not because every building matters, but because Americans had the means to erase the place from which the threat came. The British soldier represented the old professionalism of Europe, a respected craft, a disciplined method, a careful art of war. The American soldier represented something newer, less polished, less classical, but attached to a society so rich in machines, fuel, shells, radios, and transport that aggression itself became a doctrine. The Germans could respect British control. They had more trouble surviving American momentum. And that momentum came from culture as much as material. The United States did not enter the war with centuries of aristocratic military tradition. It was not Prussia. It was not Britain. Its officers were not meant to stand apart like a hereditary caste. Its army expanded from civilian life at astonishing speed. That produced weaknesses, but it also produced a distinctive strength. The American soldier often did not feel bound by the old European relationship between officer and enlisted man. There was less ceremony, less social distance, more informality. That could look sloppy. Yet it also created confidence, initiative, and a certain disregard for old military stiffness. In battle, those qualities merged with American national habits: optimism, improvisation, impatience, scale. The result was an army that did not always look impressive in the old way, but often hit with shocking violence in the new one. That is why the phrase "enthusiastic amateurs" should not be read as dismissal. It should be read as alarm, an alarm that Germany understood too late. Because amateurs with restraint can be managed, amateurs with fear can be broken. But amateurs with industrial support, endless shells, radios in every hand, aircraft overhead, semi-automatic rifles at squad level, and a cultural instinct to counterattack. Those are something else entirely. Those become a force of nature. And this is why the distinction between respect and fear matters. The British were respected because they fought like masters of an established profession. The Americans were feared because they turned war into relentless, organized overmatch. Not perfection, not elegance, overmatch. When Americans took fire, they did not simply absorb it. They answered with a punishing rain of artillery or air power, then attacked when the bombardment stopped. That pattern taught German soldiers a brutal lesson. Against Britain, there was often a sequence. Against America, there was a chain reaction. And in the end, wars are not won by looking the most professional. They are won by imposing consequences faster than the enemy can bear them. That was the American gift for war. Not beauty, not parade ground perfection. Consequences, immediate, explosive, relentless. So the German soldier listening in the dark did not fear the radio because he feared a voice. He feared what the voice could summon. He feared the guns beyond the hills, the aircraft above the clouds, the trucks on the roads, the factories across the ocean. He feared an enemy that might not match Europe's old military ideals, but had discovered something deadlier. That professionalism earns respect, but overwhelming force, delivered without hesitation, earns fear. And by the time Germany learned the difference, it was already too late.